Good morning, everyone. It is Saturday, and it is our Spring 2025 TheEdCollab gathering. I'm Chris Lehman. I'm founding director of the Educator Collaborative, and we are so happy that you are here with us. This is our 23rd gathering, if you can believe that or not. I was meeting with Frankie Siberson, as many of you know and love her, about a week or so ago, and she was reminding me that way back during our first gathering, we all had to train ourselves on how to like share slides, how to show your face on the screen. And now all of us in the entire world are pros at doing things like Zoom. So we are so thankful that you are here with us this morning. I'm going to start by letting you know a bit about how this conference runs, some reminders for today to help you navigate the day. I just have a few remarks to share, and then we'll move over to our opening keynote. So one thing we are very aware of is that we are welcoming you at a time where not everyone feels welcome. And this conference almost wasn't going to happen today. I was doing a lot of soul searching. We were talking a lot back in January of, is this the right time or the place? Is this a safe place to have educators talking about diversity and equity and inclusion, about the sorts of things that are the heart and soul of the TheEdCollab, of the literacy community? We didn't know if this was the right thing to be doing in this moment. And in conversations with the TheEdCollab think tank members and lots of other folks that we talked to, we realized that now more than ever, it's important that we keep the work going. So the conference theme today is unmute. To go over to that Zoom window when people always say unmute, unmute, and unmute yourself. If you feel now or have felt the way that I have felt, where you have things to say, there's things you want to do, but you're not sure what's okay. What can I say now? You feel stifled, you feel fearful or worried. This conference day is for you. We'll focus on classroom instruction, on teacher healing, on great books, and we'll end the day with a Zoom where we can connect all together. The TheEdCollab gathering is always free, and so we ask you to pay the joy forward. Every conference, we adopt charities. These are the two charities that have been adopted for this conference. The Trevor Project. The Trevor Project does many things for LGBTQ plus youth. In particular, it hosts a suicide hotline and crisis hotline that is used by hundreds of thousands of contacts across the year. Right now, the 988 National Crisis Line it's proposed that the portion of the 988 crisis line that supports LGBTQ plus specialists will be cut under this administration. So if that happens without that support for youth, queer youth calling in a time of crisis, Trevor Project is one of those organizations that does similar work, but they can't do it alone. So we ask you to please consider paying the joy forward, giving to the Trevor Project today, if at any point today you feel inspired, but also to advocate to keep 988 Crisis Line fully funded. The other charity for today was adopted by our morning's keynote, Dr. Carla España. It's KIND, Kids in Need of Defense. KIND is an organization that works across the legal system to support migrant children, unaccompanied children who need legal defense. Children, just like adults, are moving through the immigration system. And without the support of a lawyer, this has been documented in previous years. Children as young as 5 years old are appearing in court alone. They are having to themselves defend why they should stay in the country, which is cruel and unusual. The KIND Project is an organization that works to support these children. However, after 15 years of federal government funding, this administration has removed funding that supports legal services for unaccompanied migrant children. And so the KIND Project is finding ways, they're reshuffling, working with philanthropists to keep their work going, but they are in need of support. So if at any point today you feel inspired, one very concrete thing you can do is to give to one of these two charities to support children in need. And I feel like I'm about to be moved to tears, so I'll keep moving forward. If you are joining us for the first time, or if you've been here before, everything that takes place, or all the schedule for the whole day, you can find on our website. So gathering.theedcollab.com. If you go to that website, you can scroll through, see all of the day's sessions. If there's any updates across the day, we'll also post them there as quickly as we can. You just click through and click watch live, and you'll go right over to our YouTube channel. Some of you might be watching right now on Facebook, hi, or LinkedIn or Instagram, where we're streaming to a few other places, but not every session will be on all platforms all day, but all of them will be on YouTube. Another reason to be on YouTube is that you can chat live. So right now, folks that are watching on the YouTube channel are able to chat, respond, talk to one another. And so please do chat along with presenters today. Because we're not all in person together, it's great when you're able to share your love and enthusiasm with today's presenters so that they can feel you through the screen. So please do go to gathering.theedcollab.com if you're watching from somewhere else, find the day's schedule, and click watch live. If you head over to the YouTube chat, you can chat there with presenters and with other participants. I'm the founding director of the Educator Collaborative. We give this gathering to the world as our free gift to literacy educators everywhere. You can learn more about us at theedcollab.com. We provide professional development for schools internationally and around the world in literacy research best practices. And we'd love if across the day, if you're on any social media, that you tag us at the EdCollab. If you tag us, we'd be happy to repost. We also can help you connect to presenters in case you can't find their handles too. This gathering, we're doing something different that we have never ever done before, and that is we're going to actually be all together at the end of the day. So we will have a live town hall Zoom that will be in the closing session of today. In order to join that Zoom, you need to register. It's a free registration, but you do need to register, and then you will be emailed the Zoom link. It's best if you can do that like now, except I'm early today. We definitely are sending out the Zoom link again later this afternoon, but please try to register early if you haven't already, and then we'd love to see you there. More information about that in the closing. We also have clock hours available today. Some of you have already registered for them. We also provide New York State CTLE hours and Texas CPE hours. You can also find that at the registration link, and that is for a nominal fee. Then one big announcement. So one part of the EdCollab is our think tank. And every 2 years, there is a brand new cohort of our associates. And some wonderful associates are actually presenting today or supporting behind the scenes. Hi, associates. And we're about to start our new associate cohort. So our 2025-2027 associate cohort applications are open now. If you would like to be a part of the EdCollab, to learn along with us, to be active parts of our community, to perhaps present at days like this, we meet monthly online throughout the school year. We focus on literacy pedagogy, but also on just supporting one another. It is always a vibrant, incredible group of people, and we hope that you can join us. You can find that application at theedcollab.com/associate. That application is open now and it closes June 1st. Another thing, if you know incredible educators in your life, please tap them. Please say, hey, I think you should apply to this thing. I feel like almost every great thing that I've been a part of in education, it's because someone else suggested it to me that I wasn't brave enough and didn't think I could do myself. The same goes for the associates. Most of our associate members have been tapped by other associate members or just other educators that heard about this. So we'd love if you could share that. So I realized as I started with that we are welcoming you in a moment when we feel that most of us are not welcome. Here is a list that is continually updated by PEN America. In fact, this was updated just a few years ago, of all of the terms that are currently being purged by this administration. I'd like you to just take a moment and let your eye move around the screen. See who the current administration wants to erase from public life, from science grants, from research, from services, from even speaking these words into existence. Elderly, Native American, I'm just moving my eyes around. Climate crisis, queer, Women. This list shows the values of the current administration. And one thing that I would like to suggest for us to frame the start of today is that there's an essential word that we begin to use not just in our minds, or not just verbally, but also in our minds and hearts too. And that is to use the word and. One thing that authoritarians do is they try to make you believe that our work towards liberation can only happen if some groups are smashed down while others rise up. In the UK, for example, the recent ruling on transgender lives was largely heralded and supported by the young adult author J.K. Rowling, who she and her bigoted worldview believes that for women to succeed, we need to tamp down transgender people. Around the world, we see how threats from authoritarians to co-opt language, like to say that it is anti-Semitic to be against genocide. We know that those two words are not the same. And so we, as people who want to change what's happening, need to use the word and. We need to see how all of these experiences are connected, because frankly, this list shows us that nearly all of us, in one way or another, are targeted. So I want a world where Jewish people can live freely, and I don't want Palestinian children bombed. I can use the word and to forcefully want both. I want a world where queer people like me can live and love and be free and open. I also need to add into my own vocabulary and mindset an understanding of how I can support the fight against climate change. That's something I care about, but I don't really do enough thinking about or research around. I have to use the word and. I have to see how I can support women's rights and the ability for them to support their own bodies. And I also have to think about how can I support disability rights as those are under attack. What we need to do as a people, if we're truly going to make it through this moment, is we have to use the word and find ways to bring all of us together. And when someone tells you that, no, no, this group needs to rise up and stamp on another one in order to succeed, you have to press and in their face too and say, it is clear from this list of words that nearly all of us are under attack. But if all of us can link together, there's more of us than there are of them. So I invite you as you join the sessions today to keep the word and in your mind and to think, how can I connect all of the fight and work that there is to do and to help myself research and branch out and find new ways that I can fight as well. And this is a great opportunity to say and to welcome our opening keynote, Dr. Carla España, who I have admired. I've had the pleasure of working with for a very long time. Carla España, you can find her on her website, carlaespaña.com. Carla is a professor, a teacher, an educator, a researcher, also just full of sunshine and joy. Carla is one of those people that any room she's in, people will gravitate to her. Carla is author and co-author of several books, En Comunidad, which is an incredible book to help you think about your Latinx students in your schools and ways that you can support their lives and their voices and their language identities. And her newest book, Narrative Writing with Latinx Teens. It is my absolute pleasure to welcome former TheEdCollab member and dear friend. I adore you, Carla, so much, and I'm so glad that you're here today to kick off this morning for us. Please welcome Dr. Carla España.
Thank you so much, Chris. I think we all need to take a collective breath after that lovely grounding introduction, as Stella said. Thank you, Chris. Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm so grateful for the Ed Collab for all these years of being this community where you go beyond the advocacy of on the surface. Some people might talk about literacy on the surface of how do we teach students to read, and keeping the reading definition very, very bound. Or how do we support teachers with our writing and reading? And you, for me, remind me so much. This whole team, the think tank, the associates, everyone who takes part of the Ed Collab, you all remind me of critical educator Paulo Freire's words of we read the word and we read the world. And so for me, it is a privilege, it's an honor to join you and to have spent years collaborating with the Ed Collab in different ways. I'm here because of you, Ed Collab. I'm here because my family, Jose España, Beatriz España, my parents decided to make a decision to come to the US from Chile when I was 5 years old. My dad had already been here for a year. And unfortunately, as you're all aware of, the history of the United States with immigration, it's just horrific. And the only plan that was available to us for our family to be united was for my mom and I to come here a year after my dad was here and join him. And we have been here. I've been here since I was 5 years old. So I'm 42 now. I think I had to ask my dad yesterday. I was like, how old am I going to be? Everything's a blur, time's a blur. And I'm just really grateful that I get to be in these spaces with so many of you I recognize from that are joining us today. And I'm here because that decision that my family made to make sure that we could be together, and how important it is for families not to be separated, or and how important it was for my family to also start anew and make new family in these spaces, which I'll be talking about today as well. And I'm here because, and as I think many of you are here also because of your students, right? I'm here because of my middle grade students, starting with those bilingual students I taught at Don Pedro Albizu Campos School in Harlem, New York. Shout out to those of you in New York in the chat. Please let me know where you're joining us from. I know I'm trying to see where everyone is joining us from as well. Where are you teaching? I just said I was formerly a middle grade teacher. Any middle grade teachers in the house? I love middle grade. That's like the start of my teaching journey was with these students, and I taught bilingual, dual language, Spanish, English. At that setting, I had transitional bilingual, dual language bilingual, and then English as a new language for a year. And then my work took me across the country with several of you that I've been able to travel and visit schools in California, in Texas, in Tennessee, in Illinois, in Washington State, in Maryland. I'm Virginia. There's been a lot of work across the country. And so I'm so grateful. Look at all this representation from all over. So thank you for joining us today. And I'm sure you're also here because of brilliant people in your own lives who have guided you into this career path, into this calling. I do find that my work in education is a calling. And I'm here because of the brilliant, relentless, and thoughtful educators who have really challenged my thinking. And those brilliant and relentless and thoughtful educators, I want to add to that list. That for finally the last group that I want to also recognize that I'm here because of the student activists. There have been the reason why you see under my name here that I'm in Puerto Rican and Latinx studies at Brooklyn College is because there were these student activists who in the 60s joined together, Black student activists, Puerto Rican student activists, white student activists who joined their student organizations to make sure they advocated for representation for our most minoritized population in our college at Brooklyn College. And my department, I'm in Puerto Rican Latinx studies, exists because of those students. Those students were arrested. Shirley Chisholm got involved in making sure their bail was lowered. And I'm here because students rose up and because of that student movement. And so I just wanted to name that. I think we need to recognize and take moments to say, like, what has been the legacy of movements and people that have really paved the way for us to be able to do the work that we do. And so, thanks for sharing where you all are joining us from. I wanted to now, before I transition, to show you a little bit about my classroom. Can you shout out the name of a teacher or a student or a loved one who has been instrumental in your own teaching journey? Can you put that in the chat? Let's name those people. Let's put out some gratitude into the universe. We want to be grateful and take a moment after that lovely introduction by Chris to really acknowledge that the only way we move forward is in solidarity, and it's in community. And I cannot move forward in solidarity and community without having a grounding. And my grounding is in all those people and in those movements that I've mentioned, so we can continue, because we cannot do this by ourselves. You try to, it's going to be a very short journey. So we have to, for the long run. Shout out to Erica's amazing teacher, Ballesteros. We have teacher shout outs, partners, loving family, kindergarten. All right, Heather, shouting out a kindergarten teacher. Yes, we remember. We remember those teachers, right, and how they made us feel. Colleagues who really support us, who ground us. I love seeing all these teacher names, these student names, these loved ones' names in the, and those of you in the chat. And let's hold them. Let's hold them with us. I think we cannot forget those words and the way that these people have made us feel in this teaching journey. So as we continue, we will honor those people. And for me, I think I continue the work that I'm doing because of my students. So thank you for the students joining me here today. I appreciate you all. You make me a better educator. And speaking of better educator, I have to say that phrase. I was trying to get it in somewhere. I have a 5-year-old, and any of you who've been around that age group, some of you are teachers of that age group, or some of you have children in your lives of that age group, or have had children in that age group. They come and share language in certain ways, and you're like, where did you learn that? That's the latest thing with my child. It's speaking of, and I don't know where Luna got that. Like, so every day, speaking of. So speaking of our education, I'll show her this video later and say, look, mommy's using your words. Speaking of, I really wanted to show you a picture of my classroom. So when I started my teaching journey, I started as a 6th grade teacher, and I can't wait to just go back and read everything that you're all sharing. I'm so moved by all these people. This might look familiar, this might look different, but what do you notice? What do you wonder? This was my first introduction to teaching. I walk in, there were so many books in this classroom. And then my parents, I remember the week before I started my 6th grade teaching, that was 2007, my parents came and helped me paint all the shelves. So yeah, what do you notice? What do you wonder? Drop it in the chat. My friend Jackie isn't here. I don't know. I can't keep up. But Jackie and I were teaching 6th grade. She came in my 2nd year teaching. And I remember having made this trip somewhere in Brooklyn. We went to buy some pillows too. And we were always trying to find cozy ways to have the students have their meeting area. Oh my goodness, the blue bins, red bins. So yeah, for those of you in bilingual ed, you might notice, yep, that was very clear. Like, we were told, is dual language. You're going to have blue on one side, red on the other. All the books in the blue bins are the ones in English. All the ones in the red bins are the ones in Spanish. There was this very strict language separation philosophy in that school, and it was very common. Yeah, these bins for all you, you're like, it's taking you back. For those of you who had to set it up, or those of you who are like, this is what I have in my classroom. Yeah, so I wanted to show you that a little bit, just to tell you where I started. Books were a very big part of my journey as a teacher, and you'll see how they play a big role too today. And I had the privilege of attending the Latinx Kit Lit book festival annual conferences like that they hold virtually. And through that work, I learned that through Alex Villasante, an author who I'll shout out to later, Alex Villasante, who's doing work at the Highlights Foundation, that the Highlights Foundation had this Latinx retreat. I think some of you have attended, and if you haven't, please check it out. It's always end of October, first week of November, around my birthday. So if you ever want to go and celebrate together, let's go. But I go because I'm from that journey. When I started with books, I always had this love of like the stories that we're reading in our picture books, in our middle grade novels, in our YA novels, and how I found such support for my teaching in books that were authentic by people from the communities, that they were writing about these communities. And I felt less alone as a new teacher because I had so many books that I could rely on, and these authors were helping me. So I attend this retreat, and Alex Villasante gives us a prompt one early morning for those who get up early and wanted to do some writing in the morning. And it was, what would you tell your younger self that you know now? And so I wanted to start with that poem today, and I titled it "Remember Me." And you'll see it in the. Oh, here we go. Let me just make sure you can see it. Remember me, before the clenching of your jaw, the grinding of teeth, living without papers, with uncertainty, will we ever see our family? Remember me clutching the Care Bears lunchbox across airports, a decision not your own, to leave la tierra que te vio nacer, all that you know, joining Papá in Nueva York. Remember me before English gnawed away at your insides, the way to make your teacher smile, to make your parents proud. Who knew the silencing of Spanish could be so loud? Remember me before religion's chokeholds on memory, limiting who and how we could love. The eso no es de Dios, euphemisms for there is no room for that in the Lord's home. Remember me as you walk in gratitude for the family you've created. Tios de Argentina, your first neighbors in Queens, amigas del Salvador y Guatemala, singing with you in the church's worship team. Caribbean students, teachers, and friends embodying a supportive community. Remember me and breathe. You no longer have to try to hold it all in. Immigrant children trying to meet the expectations of many. You are not your resiliency. So in these pictures, you see the day I left Chile with my mom masking like the fear and like what is going to happen because we were going to come into this country undocumented. My dad then walking me to Escuela Argentina on Saturdays. And it was the way that I was able to keep communicating with my family because my school at the time did not have bilingual education support. And on Saturdays, there was this Escuela Argentina, and it was like all cultural history, song, music, dance, everything on Argentinian history. And our neighbors told us about it. So speak about community cultural wealth. Tara Yosso's work, like it's so powerful to think about all those connections and networks with communities that had helped my family have a strong footing here, starting new in this country. And the role of the arts in my childhood was so important, and it was music that really helped me just blossom and shine, and not only just in learning music in Chile and singing and dancing in a folklore, a grupo folclórico, in a folklore group, but it was also in bringing that here, and also then as a teacher and saying, how is it that I can bring that into my work with students so I don't lose that part of me and lose the way that I was able to navigate my own bilingualism and navigate those connections to family. And so I wanted to share with you an activity from my book, reflecting on this poem that we could try out ourselves. I was blank years old when I first blank, and this comes from Ariana Brown and Alan Peláez Lopez had these wonderful conversations that they had together. And they're both poets, and I suggest you follow them. And I used this prompt when I was listening to and watching their conversations on poetry and Blackness and Latinidad. And I took that prompt and I thought, I was 5 years old when I first learned what it meant to be undocumented. I was 5 years old when I first came to have friends from different parts of the world, so that my like newcomer student identity. I was 10 years old when I first learned what living as a documented resident meant. And so navigating those changes as a child of not being documented to being documented. And I was 15 when I realized my church leader would not support me attending a non-Christian college. And so my identity was so wrapped up throughout my childhood and adolescence in my church community that became our family. And then my world was rocked, and everything shifted when I would not get the support that I thought I would get in the next stage in my life after high school. And so I want to ask you today, if you could drop in the chat, what's an age when you had an aha moment? So maybe you were 6 years old in first grade, you were 5 in kindergarten when you first maybe hopefully saw a teacher that looked like you. That's very rare for those who are Black and brown. I hope we hear more of these stories moving forward, that you start early getting teacher representation. Or maybe I have students who are in my class, and they might be like 18, 19, 20 undergrad students, and they say, this was the first time I read a book that reflected my Puerto Rican Bushwick experience when I was Puerto Rican by Elizabeth Velasquez. So let's try it out. If you want to drop it in the chat. I was blank years old when I first, some of us, I have some writing in my book about I was like now, like I was 40 years old when I first had these aha moments. And because I feel like that's happening a lot lately, in this push for us and this call for us to be more in solidarity and in learning. And I love that you gave those specific examples, Chris, in this introduction. That was so powerful, that sometimes it's like right now, it's like, oh, like I was today years old. And then when we see those viral memes online, like I was today years old when I learned about certain things because I wasn't taught that in schools, right? And so I think sharing more of these aha moments in communities, with colleagues in places where we feel that people haven't had those aha moments, I think it's truly powerful. But then moving on, so thanks for dropping some examples. The other part of this title, and as I conclude in these next few minutes, is not only sharing like of our lives, but also thinking about the text and the teaching and how our lives, our books, our teachings, all of those things are testimonios. And I just wanted to show you one of the quotes that has stuck with me and has stuck with my students this semester is that the collective goal of a testimonio is to name oppression and to arrest its actions, whether genocide, racism, classism, xenophobia, or any other type of institutionalized marginalization. The aim is to speak for justice against all crimes against humanity. That's for Blackmer and Reyes and Curry Rodriguez and Testimonio, Origins, Terms, and Resources. And so in this short time I have with you, but also in my latest book in narrative writing with Latinx teens, I advocate for more of this in our teaching, for more of us listening to the testimonials of children, listening to the testimonials of colleagues, listening to those who have experiences that might be different than ours, and most important, to the experiences of those who have been most vulnerable and most marginalized in society. And so thank you, Chris, for those examples that you gave when we started. And then for me, that has meant sharing my own life, right? And sharing my own poetry. And so I think of in this book, when I consider this line of when I move forward in thinking about what was I first experiencing certain aha moments as a child, and how that is informing me as a teacher to say, what room is there in my teaching to listen to authentic experiences from my students, from texts, from teachers. And so that leads me to write, this poem about Queens Boulevard and this special place in my life. And what they don't tell you about coming to La Gran Manzana is the nostalgia that grows roots from dawn to dusk, the sweetness of Chile's sunrise, greeting you with manjar on pan amasado from Tío Tomás's Panadería, bedtime lullabies preceded by A minor and D minor chords, launching into a cueca classic, La Consentida. What you learn about this new life in the Big Apple is that the love from your parents could tackle any obstacle. Undocumented transition kept as bittersweet secret from the family. missing milestones and masking fears of deportation. So when you look up and down Queens Boulevard and don't see the big blue building Papa said would signal you've arrived at the mall, distracted by your curls swept in the wind from passing cars, traffic providing that steady, soothing hum like a sleep machine in a baby's nursery, know that feeling disoriented is not insurmountable. Mama taps into that spidey sense every loving caregiver has, grips your hand, and takes a series of walks in different directions, attempting to make it back to your new home, what feels like a safe place where your small family has been reunited. You patiently await the day when you won't be afraid to ask, "Can you help us? We are lost. ¿Nos puede ayudar? Estamos perdidas." Decades later, you continue to question as you're flooded by images and stories of families in distress, separated, border walls and barbed wire buoys, shelter laws and over policing in schools. What you now know at the core of your soul, no longer lost, no longer alone, enraged that for some el sueño americano en la gran manzana rots dreams away. Yet, for now, you are here to stay. So engaging for me with the wonderful poets Alan Peláez Lopez and Ariana Brown and thinking about these aha moments have taken me to a lot of spaces where I've had to return and think about ese desahogo. And that desahogo is, for me, my writing framework. It is, how am I creating spaces for that unreleased, that unburdening? And that's the metaphor I use in narrative writing with Latinx teens because of a sixth grader. A sixth grader, not even one sixth grader, it was multiple sixth graders that I interviewed for a research study. And I asked them why they were writing about their narratives about moments with their families. Some of them had left Dominican Republic. And it was this powerful word of that they kept repeating, me puedo desahogarme. I can really I can unburden, I can release myself with my writing in this class. And that's the work that I want us to continue thinking about, is how can I cultivate learning and teaching spaces where their testimonios can come about so that they can desahogarse. And that for me, it has meant that I've had to think about not only creating those opportunity for writing, but also in thinking about the actual books that I'm bringing in for those conversations. And so I'll wrap up with some examples and then some words from those sixth graders. One of my latest projects this semester, this spring semester, has been working on a teacher's guide for the Grief Keeper. Drop in the chat if you have read this with your high school students. It is a young adult novel, or if you've read it for yourself. It is by Alex Villasante, who I mentioned from the Highlights Foundation and the Latinx retreat, but also co-founder of the Latinx Kid Lit Book Festival. And in The Grief Keeper, we meet Marisol, who is seeking asylum with her sister, Gabby. And the only way they are provided protection or asylum for a time is if they participate in experiments. And so in this sci-fi novel, they take in the grief of other people. And so they're used as subjects, right? So in this case, it's just Marisol. And it is commentary on our immigration and justice. It is a beautiful queer love story. It is addressing the family and love and connection between an older sibling with all the responsibility, all the weight on her to care for and protect her younger sibling. And I've been working on this teacher's guide. And so I've been collaborating with one of my students on it. And one of the aha moments that we had with this was how often we would go towards investigative journalism and memoir, as maybe because that's like one of my favorite genres. I would always go to memoir and investigative journalism to as resources. And I would go to Latino USA, and I have my text sets with podcasts and news articles. on immigration. So I would create my immigration text set, but how much of those were missing, those text sets were missing other genres like sci-fi. And I remembered, I was like, wait, I love reading books like, The Parable of the Sower, and I'm trying to think of like dystopian novels I love and different genres outside of that, and how it could be more helpful. So giving options for students in tackling these topics, different entry points. And so I'm grateful that we co-created this guide, and you'll get it soon, I promise. Penguin Random House is designing it, and it's coming out because the book is coming out in paperback soon, and so you'll get the guide as well. But that for me was important, to think of testimonio and the desahogarse as a process that is not just from sharing our own stories, because I recognize that for some this might be too close and they don't feel safe in certain spaces to share. And so I might go to a book like The Grief Keeper to do that. I also have a unit. If any of you are interested, just go to my website. I will share it with you. It's a unit I created for New York City public school teachers. I have a series I've been doing with them and Professor Lucia Di Herrera. And so created a high school unit with The Grief Keeper and Solito, the memoir by Javier Zamora. So if those of you are in that are interested. And the other example I wanted to leave you with is my latest project is a refugee and migrant children in picture books project. And so I've been conducting a study on the representation of refugee children in different picture books. And how do I tackle that in also supporting teachers in ways that we can talk about these topics and talk about these testimonios from populations and authentic texts that are written, illustrated by those from the communities. And I'm happy to say I've been returning to some just gorgeous, gorgeous books. So We Who Produce Pearls as one of my in my study, and really thinking about the topics of resilience and the topics of there's a repetition in this book by Joanna Ho that says we like hold injustice in our mouth, and then there's this powerful illustration, and then we spit it out and it's a pearl. So I need you all to return to this. If you've read it, go back. If you haven't, please, it's gorgeous. I went back to Watercress, and I've been looking at it as well in Spanish and thinking about translations and thinking about this Chinese American family and just the language, the figurative language in this book, and the shame that the child feels. But when learning about their family history, the shame turns to like this aha moment, right? And so I really wanted to complicate a lot of the narratives where we don't all get it from the beginning. And so some of us have had to have these conversations with our families growing up, or now as adults, because so many things were kept from us when we were growing up. And berros or watercress is another way that I've been tackling that. I went to Wishes. I went back to this illustrated book, Vietnamese refugee family, and just the back matter in all of these books. By the way, the back matter has been teaching me more than my own history textbooks have given me on Asian Americans. I've gone back to these olive trees and a map for Palestine, and really thinking about how do I talk about Palestine with children? How do books talk about war or occupation? Do they use those words? Do they what do they say in the back matter? What are the historical events that the books are referencing? And if that wasn't part of my own educational history, then how can I include that? And I'll end with this. The last group of books that I've been analyzing in this project are Bright Star by Judy Morales. So we have some Judy Morales fans here who are always quoting her. I have some students who are always doing projects on Judy Morales books. It's like every read aloud I get, every semester, there's a read aloud by Judy Morales. And Hear My Voice, the testimonies of children detained at the southern border of the United States. You get 61 testimonies in that book by children, and then 17 Mexican illustrators throughout. In the book, it's in Spanish and in English. And the last book is The Interpreter, which features a character who's interpreting for their family. So it's a lot of our experiences, those of us growing up as bilingual, multilingual people. You know that we spend a lot of time sometimes translating for loved ones around us. And the book The Interpreter by Olivia Ptahi and illustrated by Monica Arnaldo, help us really think about that process and how complicated it is when there should be systems set in place to support with those translations, and yet they haven't been. And so I wanted to end with this poem titled, actually, let me make sure I have this. Yes, okay, we do have time. We do. I know. I'm trying to give you a lot, but also because I want to make sure I get to engage with the chat. Trying to do all the things here. ESL. I forget the word for straw in Chilean Spanish, and despite having lived here for 37 years, I make an embarrassing and epic mistake. I stand in the middle of Times Square, tourists whizzing by, so I can get on the family WhatsApp. I see all of you judging me. Please don't judge me. I really did that. Is terrible. What a simple thing. Request for a grandchild's packed lunch. Sí, leche por favor, con vaso y sorbete, bombilla, straw. Se me olvidó cómo se dice en Chile. Crying face emoji. I'm 5 years old now. Flashback. Back at PS13 in Corona, Queens, sitting on the floor, a small circle of us, newcomers, grammar sheets and workbooks, rules and conversations, English growing like weeds, overpowering the blossoms of Spanish. I was told ESL was English as a second language, but maybe a better description would be English suffocating language of home. How quickly we forget the names of simple things we learn from the people who love us most. And so in that poem, ESL, I'm trying to grapple with the three parts of my life in this moment that I'm living as an educator and I'm trying to embody. With my students, I'm hoping I advocate for translanguaging pedagogy, a translanguaging pedagogy that acknowledges that our language repertoire is vast and we're pulling from all these features. A method of teaching that teaches truth, following the wonderful book that I was reading this year that's been motivating me and keeping me strong by Jesse Hagopian, Teach Truth. And finally, writing for Desahogo. And in writing for Desahogo, I want to acknowledge the experiences of my students and of those that have been made most vulnerable by our institutions. And I'd love to end with your words in the chat. Has there been a word that often you get stuck on in translations, or that you recently learned what it meant? And so I could catch up in the chat. A word that you recently learned what it meant as you were working through translations, or a word that that you're always getting stuck on because you're like, ¿Cómo se dice? ¿Cómo se dice? How do you say this? And the word I want to make sure you never forget today, as those of you drop in some examples, it's desahogarme. And that was, again, shared with me by sixth graders who had the opportunity for that release, that unburdening, because they had a community created by their sixth grade teacher to be themselves fully as readers, as writers. And so I hope you too have a community that supports you. And if you don't, please stick around. The agenda for today is absolutely so thoughtful. And I'm so excited to see you at the town hall later. Make sure you register, check your email for that, and continue writing, continue reading, continue being a community. I love you all, and I'm grateful for you. Thank you.
Carla, so this whole time the tech team is made up of volunteer educators, many parts of the TheEdCollab, and so we have our own chat going in addition to everyone's YouTube chat. And the number of us just saying how often we've been crying during your opening this morning. You just have this way of lifting up our intellect while also just filling our hearts. Um, I'll share publicly one thing. When I invited Carla to Keynote, she very kindly said, you know, I'm very honored because I just think about all of these incredible people that have been keynotes in past gatherings, um, and and I think I said then, but I'll say here now, you're one of those incredible people that we need too. Um, You're just a light for us and your work. I want to share, put up again Carla's professional text, as is her just herself professionally, whether she's giving a keynote or she's working with your school as a consultant or the classes that she teaches. Her professional text, as you heard today, are not just here's how you teach. It's here are experiences. Here's my testimonios here, like in Comunidad, where she also shares the voices and stories of Latinx youth as well too. Everything that you do, Carla, just it builds our minds and our hearts. So truly, thank you for being a part of this day with us, and thank you for kicking it off in such a powerful way.
Thank you, Chris. Thanks, TheEdCollab.
Thank you. And so, as we whoop, uh, for some final thoughts before you head off to the rest of this incredible session today. So, first of all, if you were inspired by Carla, why did I say if? You were inspired by Carla. Also, P.S., I'm also crying seeing all of your amazing comments in the chat today. So, thank you all for sharing and communicating. I know many of you personally, others of you I know from just like being online friends, and some of you I'm only meeting now to see your names. Thank you for everything that you're sharing. Because you were inspired by Carla, one thing I'd like you to do is please go to carlaespaña.com, find all the ways that you can follow her, make sure you have her books, and you can also invite her to work with your school or speak at your events. And then hold on to this joy that you're feeling, this inspiration that you're feeling, and pay it forward. The EdCollab gathering is free. And we always ask, since the start, this is our 23rd, we have always adopted charities each day. If you go to gathering.theedcollab.com/charity, or all over the website, there are charity links. You can read more about the Trevor Project and Kind Kids in Needs of Defense, and you can link directly to them. You don't pay anything to us. You can just go straight to them and donate. Or pay the joy forward in other ways. Choose another charity that you want to give what today maybe you would have spent on coffee or on a conference registration for this packed schedule that we have today, or to travel somewhere or a hotel stay. Pay that joy forward. And if monetarily paying the joy forward is not something you can do right now, then find other ways to pay the joy forward. It could be volunteering. It could be being brave and saying something that you know you have to say that you haven't said yet in order to make positive change in your community or in the world. Please take this inspiration you felt this morning and pay it forward. Um, the EdCollab is made up of incredible people. Carla was a longtime member of the EdCollab. So just a reminder that the associate applications are open right now. They close on June 1st. If you'd like to join our think tank, we meet once a month, every month. Sometimes there's some optional other things, but it's always once a month during the school year. It's an incredible group. This is a 2-year cohort. The current one, oh no, is about to retire, but we are so excited to form a new group. So please do consider applying. So next sessions, make sure that you are on our website, gathering.theedcollab.com. There you can see the upcoming sessions. In session 2, we have two threads are starting. I realize I don't know if I mentioned this clearly yet. All day long, we have 2 threads. We have workshops for educators and we have book talks for educators. So coming up next, Discourse Strategies Supporting Students to Find Their Voice by Janet, Jill, and Kola. And then book talks that in the next session is books that highlight language stories, loss, revitalization, and healing, led by Tracy Flores. So please do head over to those. And don't forget, we have our town hall at the end of today. I saw Carla was registering just before she went live. I don't know how you multitask that, but Carla's joining us there too. The town hall will kick off the Zoom will open at 1 p.m. this afternoon. And then I'll have some closing thoughts at about 1:10 after that. And please make sure you register in order to get that Zoom link. You should be getting the link rather quickly across the day, but for sure, about a half hour before we have another email scheduled for anyone that registers. So please make sure you register there. As you go throughout the day, keep everything we've been talking about this morning, and please hold the word "and." How can we connect our collective fight for liberation? How can we take the things that we're learning across the day and think about both those identities, those areas, those concerns that we hold on to personally, but now learn about others, other experiences, other places we need to push and learn and grow so we can have a collective movement towards liberation together. So thank you all so much for joining us today. Again, Carla, this was just an incredible kickoff to this morning. Please enjoy the rest of your gathering. We hope to see you at the town hall. And thank you, everyone. Thank you for all that you do as educators, for yourselves, for your students, for your schools and communities, and for this amazing and essential and important profession that we will fight to the death for. Thank you all, and have a great rest of your day.